Hey everyone, welcome back to 996. The Howl. Utah wins 5-2 against the Chicago Blackhawks. Great bounce back for Utah after a really brutal loss to Tampa. They're a lot better than Tampa, but still a pretty rough game against Florida. But they pushed that game to an overtime loss. It was great for the team to get 2 wins, get another win in the books, and head home to start their 5-game homestand. Some housekeeping. Nick DeSimone gets in the lineup, his first game since before the Four Nations, due to Oli Mata is listed as day-to-day, and then Turney rolls with the same lines as he did against Florida, where he brought out the line blender. You had Keller and Schmaltz separated so that Keller was with Cooley and Gunther on your top line. Schmaltz with Hayden and Yamamoto, who was called up for that Florida game. Yamamoto, a great game against Chicago. Didn't even notice him against Florida. To me, maybe a bit conspiracy theory. I think maybe Turney, maybe management is like, Nick Schmaltz, we got to see how you are without Keller. You can't always be tied to Clayton Keller. For the past 4 seasons, Schmaltz and Keller have been together, and whenever Schmaltz is separated from Keller, he can't produce on his own. He doesn't really drive a line. So maybe it's some future or foreshadowing thinking by Utah management and coaching to see, how do Schmaltz and Keller react to being separated. And Vejmelka gets his 17th straight start for this rush to the playoffs that's now pretty much out of hand. I was surprised maybe we would have saw Villalta here against a basement team in Chicago, but I understand you need a win. Do whatever you can to win. Put your best players on lineup on the ice. This team really needed a win to maybe get their morale up, have an exciting plane ride back home to Salt Lake City. So let's finally get into the game. Early in the game, Chicago misses a great chance, a backdoor play. Vejmelka's sort of out of position. If Chicago managed to get a stick on it, then it would have been an early 1-0 lead for Chicago. Shortly after that, there's a nice Schmaltz to Yamamoto slot chance, but he misses wide. It was a pretty low event start to this game in the first 10 minutes. There was also a Keller to Cooley chance, but Cooley misses the net. Yamamoto, again, he was all over it in this first period. He was all alone in front of the net, but he gets saved. And then the penalty trouble starts for Utah. Really undisciplined in a stretch here. They go on back-to-back penalty kills, and they kill off both penalties. And to be honest, both PKs were really good. They kept Chicago to the outside, to the perimeter, nothing too dangerous or threatening for Chicago there. After those back-to-back penalties were killed, the second line again was Schmaltz, Hayden, and Yamamoto just buzzing around the net. And it was great to see that line generating some offense. The first line was really quiet in that first period. I thought the second line and the third line were doing the heavy lifting in the first, but we go into the second period tied 0-0. Utah was outshot only 10-9, so nothing too serious. I thought Utah for sure had another gear to unlock. That wasn't a really great period. The 2 penalty kills weren't great either. I wanted Utah to play more in the offensive zone, draw some power plays, and they really didn't do that at all throughout the game. So we go into the second period. The third line has a great chance. Josh Doan finds McBain alone in front. He gets saved, but his rebound goes right to Krause, uncontested. The goalie on the floor, his stomach on the ice, and he has a yawning cage, Krause does, but he hits the post on this play. Krause just snake bitten all season there. Then Utah goes back on the PK, and another great job by the penalty kill. Chicago really only managed to set up on their power play with 20 seconds left on the penalty. After that, Chicago really started to gain some momentum. You could feel it. Chicago, whenever Utah's been facing them this season, they'll disappear for long stretches of time, but they'll come in bursts where they have so much skill, speed. They just have the puck in your own zone. They look like world beaters at some points. And luckily, Utah, against momentum, gets the first goal of the game. Still don't know who scored this one. if it was Nick DeSimone or Bukestad, I'll go with Bukestad. The broadcast was going back and forth, NHL.com going back and forth, continuing to switch who scored, but it's either Bukestad or Nick DeSimone. Just against momentum, like I said, Nick DeSimone has the puck on the blue line and just throws it blindly to the net. It gets tipped by something, goes into the net, and Utah's got a 1-0 lead. What I noticed from Nick DeSimone whenever he plays, he is not shy, which is throwing the puck on net. It's like any chance this guy has the puck on his stick, it's going to the front of the net, and he's hoping and praying. Sometimes you need that, and this game, Utah definitely needed those plays to win this game. So Utah goes up 1-0. The very next shift, there's a breakaway against. It's Chicago with speed. It's Nazar all alone, goes 5-hole. Vejmelka standing tall and makes the save. Chicago again gathering so much momentum, and they finally tied up. You could feel that they're going to tie this one up. They tied up 1-1. A great passing play by Chicago, a sort of 3-on-2 play. And the only reason why it was a 3-on-2 dangerous rush, because on this play, Nick Foligno throws Cooley down in the offensive corner with a free hand. Cooley didn't have the puck. This was a blatant interference, holding, roughing, whatever you wanted. You can't wrestle, super slam a guy into the ice. Cooley's slow to get up, and Foligno has a head start because of that to create this 3-on-2 rush. He makes a great play to do a sort of spinorama and sort of block off Gunther as he's going for the back check. So Chicago makes it 1-1. Shortly after that, they make it 2-1, a flurry of chances in front of Vejmelka. He saves number 1, saves number 2, but he can't save number 3. Doesn't get any help from his defenseman to clear up the middle of the ice. Doesn't get any help by his back checkers, Keller or Cooley, to clean up the middle of the ice. So it's 2-1 Chicago. Things looking pretty bleak because Chicago just came on strong out of nowhere in the second period. There's a nice chance by Hayden. He streaks down the sideboards, lets off an uncontested wrister. He hits either the post or the side of the net, and then Utah scores back-to-back goals to regain the lead. The first goal is a point shot by Sergachev. He throws it on net. It pinballs off a Chicago player into the net. Great lucky bounce for Utah again. And assists go to Marino and Krause. And on that goal, both Krause and Marino, those are their 100th career assists on the same goal. So that's very interesting to see. And then the third goal, right after they tied it up, was again Sergachev throwing the puck on net, but this time a great skilled hand-eye coordination tip by Kerfoot. The other assist goes to Marino again. So Utah's up 3-2 late in the second, and then McBain crunches a young defenseman of Chicago. I believe it was his first game of the season, just got signed out of the NCAA college hockey. McBain crushes him behind the net, and then Maroon comes to instigate and fight McBain. Chicago gets that penalty, and this is Utah's only power play of the game coming from an instigator penalty. Utah, it's only 55 seconds left in the second period, so Utah can't really do much there. So they go into the third period up 3-2. They outshot Chicago 13-12. Again, I thought Chicago, this whole second period was a gong show. Like, Chicago looked like the more threatening team. For sure, more skill, holding on to the puck longer, whereas all three of Utah's goals in this second period, they're just throwing the puck from the blue line. But it's great to be lucky, and they definitely, Utah could have used that luck against, in games like Detroit, Seattle, or the Florida game, could have used a bounce here or there to get those 2 points. So we go into the third period. On that transitional power play, Utah can't score. They can't really establish a rhythm since it was broken up by the intermission. It was back and forth the first 7 minutes of this third period, and then there was a great chance. Krause in the corner finds Cooley coming off the bench with so much speed, goes for a nice slapper, one-timer, and he completely misses the net on that chance. Utah's still struggling to establish any sort of offensive zone pressure and possession, but they score against momentum, I would say. Again, just a brutal turnover by Chicago. Everyone is breaking out of the Chicago zone. Kerfoot is like the last player out of the offensive zone, but I think a breakout pass hits something, hits a Chicago player. It's a missed breakout pass, and Kerfoot has to turn around, and now he finds himself all alone on a breakaway. He shoots it, it hits the goalie's mask, and goes to the other side of the ice, and Yamamoto one-times it past a sprawling Soderblom, the goaltender for Chicago. So Yamamoto scores his first goal for Utah. First goal in his second game being called up after a period in the first couple games in October. And then Cooley scores right after to make it 5-2. A nice wrister assisted by Keller and Gunther. And then a big save by Vejmelka when it's 5-2. Just a point-blank slot one-timer. Vejmelka has to stand tall. They kill off a penalty, 4 minutes left in the game, and that's it. Utah gets the 2 points, a big regulation win, still mathematically in the hunt of the playoffs. I know Vancouver lost Sunday as well. Maybe Utah could leapfrog Calgary and Vancouver near the end of the season. They play Calgary on this 5-game homestand. When you listen to me talk, you're probably like, okay, Utah probably got, overworked, definitely didn't have possession, and I thought that too. My eye test showed that Chicago had the better chances, had more, they held on to the puck way more in Utah's D zone than Utah. So I go to the analytics, I go on the website, and it's wrong. My eye test was wrong. Utah had the majority of the puck 5-on-5, 64.5% in the first. They had possession, 57 in the second, and 58% of the time they held on to the puck 5-on-5. High danger chances, Utah had 7 high danger chances in the first period, even though I thought Utah barely did anything in the first. Chicago had 0 high danger chances in the first and in the second, and in the third, but in the second period, Chicago had 6, Utah had 8. So altogether, 8 plus 7, what's that, 15 plus 2, 17. So 17-6 high danger chances in favor of Utah 5-on-5. And the expected goals 5-on-5 was 4.36 for Utah and 1.76 for Chicago. So definitely an analytical game. Utah did things right, but to the naked eye, I thought maybe Chicago might have been the better team and Utah got lucky, but I'm pleased to be wrong there. The broadcast also shouted out a great stat. Utah's 22-0-4 whenever they score 4 goals or more. So you need to score a lot of goals, 4 or more, and you'll pretty much always win those games. And they finally surpassed last year's point totals when they were in Arizona. They had 77 points last season. This season, they just hit the 78-point mark. You might hear some haters online saying, oh, they barely just surpassed their last year's point totals. But to be honest, there's 8 games left. That's 10% of the whole season still left to play, and they already surpassed last year's totals. So great job for Utah. I'm sure all the players are happy about their step forward, but again, probably disappointed and a bit frustrated how the St. Louis Blues just went on a 9-game win streak and really just ran with that last wild card spot. Maybe next season, Utah, maybe they're like, hey, we need to go on a long streak like that, and we can't really let our foot off the gas down the stretch. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.